In our paper, Opportunities and Challenges of Blockchain-Oriented Systems in the Tourism Industry, we want to investigate the use of innovative technologies by destination management organizations focusing on blockchain technology, both from the point of view of research in the field and in the study of the most relevant software projects. In these presentations, we will see previously a brief introduction and our research questions, the results of the literature review, the most relevant blockchain-oriented projects and applications for tourism industry, then we'll discuss the results obtained, and finally we'll see the conclusions. First of all, we have to say that tourists nowadays are increasingly involved in creating their travel experience, especially thanks to the spread of new information and communication technologies. This has gradually led also to an evolution in the concept of tourism, from the traditional tourism, with a technology intervention almost absent, to smart tourism, with increasingly cutting-edge technologies that change the way tourism is done. So, we can say that the use of information technologies is an essential requirement of new forms of tourism. But there are some problems arising from the use of new technologies in tourism, and one of these is the lack of public confidence. Blockchain technology would seem to provide a solution. Based on these considerations, we formulated our research questions, aimed at investigating the extent to which the scientific community addressed the problems relating to the use of blockchain technology in tourism and the state of the art of the practical use of blockchain technology in tourism. To answer the first question, we examined the scientific literature on the Scopus database, and we deepened the study by examining the content of works more related to technical and socio-economic issues. The results shows that although the scientific literature on the topic of blockchain is increasingly extensive, there are still few contributions that analyze it in relation to the tourist industry. The graph shows that since 2016, with no article published on this theme, the number has doubled from year to year. And this highlights the growing interest of the scientific community towards the application of blockchain technology in the tourism sector. From the list of 65 papers obtained, we have focused our attention on the scientific contributions of the last years in relation to the general principle of the DMOs. In particular, we choose the papers that discussed the opportunities offered by blockchain technology applied in the tourism sector, including those papers that discussed the challenges that the tourism industry will have to face with the adoption of blockchain technology, both from the technological point of view and from an economic organizational perspective. The list is reported in the first table. As we can see here, in our survey, the contribution of owner and employer stands out. In fact, they are among the most prolific authors dealing with the issue of blockchain technology application in tourism. In the second table, instead, we reported 11 blockchain-oriented software that are used in the tourism industry. This list is the result of two considerations. Some software are cited as relevant examples in the references literature, while others have emerged from a specific research on the main uses of blockchain technology in the tourism sector. For each of them are indicated the name, the nationality, the activity status, their main functionality, and the type of blockchain technology used. In the tourism and hospitality industry, there may be many potential applications of blockchain technology, and here there are some of these applications. For example, blockchain technology can be used in an inventory management system to provide information about availability and coverage rate of hotels rooms and airplane seats by sharing it with the various interested stakeholders, thus with the consequent removal of intermediaries. An example is the Winding Tree platform, which allows hoteliers and airlines to list their availabilities and tourists to book them. But blockchain can also be used for the traceability of food products, allowing people to access data on the origin of products and reconstruct their path from the field to the table. This is important, especially in those sectors of food and wine tourism whose competitive advantage derives from the use of organic, local, and sustainable products. As example, food chain is a system that uses blockchain for this purpose. Blockchain is also proposed as a solution to the lost luggage, since it allows the tracking of baggage which can be monitored at various essential points through the automatic entry of data collected in a public register. Backtracks uses a sensor attached to suitcases and blockchain technology to make tracking sequences protected and guarantee the data security of all the actors involved in the service, for example, passengers, airlines, airport managers. Again, blockchain can be used in reservation and ticketing to make reservations for the issuance of tickets and to contrast the black market, for example, by creating standard protocols allowing buyers to use their electronic wallets to prove ownership of the ticket. Another use is linked to travelers' loyalty. In fact, travel industry operators can benefit from the creation of dedicated loyalty programs that issue tokens as rewards to travelers in order to obtain a competitive advantage over their competitors or reach new potential customers, thus strengthening the link between travelers and destinations. For example, TripKey has devised a loyalty program to allow customers and companies in the tourism sector to enter directly into contact with each other, thus promoting the disintermediation of the sector. Finally, we identified the last blockchain usefulness regarding identity, credential management, and privacy. Here, in order to improve the sector safety and protect travelers' privacy, we could think to the definition of a digital global traveler identity through a system that allows to determine unequivocally the identity of a person. For example, the telecommunication company of air transport is studying how the use of virtual or digital passports can reduce documents checks during passenger journeys for eliminating the need to possess various travelers' documents. Apart from their functionality in the tourism sector, there are two main blockchain technologies adopted: smart contract and decentralized applications. Most of the projects mentioned previously use different smart contracts in their systems. In fact, their programmability and automated execution independently of human interference offer many potentials for the tourism industry, such as the activation of immediate payment systems in transactions or the allocation of rooms to guests via digital keys on blockchain. About decentralized applications, we can say that are in process of defining projects for online review systems, travel planning, personalized marketing for tourism industry, and so on. For example, the Italian startup UK aims to offer tourist travel proposal tailored by local experts on the need and aspirations of users, using blockchain technology to make everything more reliable and ensure secure transactions. This leads to the breaking of technological barriers. In fact, through the promotion of transparent transactions, blockchain technology guarantees a higher level of trust and security in online travel platforms, since all data will only be upgradable through a consensual agreement between all participants in the network. Thus, it is clear that blockchain can be a valid tool for the neutrality and objectivity in travel information systems. The analysis carried out revealed two main effects that blockchain technology can bring to the tourism sector. The first one is the disintermediation, which means the progressive removal and replacement of intermediaries. In fact, thanks to the presence of trustless mechanism, blockchain technology makes the role of travel agencies accessory and can lead to the replacement of global distribution systems that allows transactions between different services providers and online travel agencies through systems that allow peer-to-peer communications and transactions. Examples include projects such as Locktrip, Winding Tree, and Trip Ecosystem. Moreover, thanks to the blockchain technology, it is possible to create systems that see the aggregation of different travel products and services in such a way as to reduce any inefficiencies and achieve greater coordination between the various proposals. For example, the UK platform brings together in a single system numerous services and utilities for tourists, simplifying the organization of their vacation. Similarly, Southcoin offers a platform for the state of Sardinian tourist services based on blockchain technology. This kind of systems implements the concept of co-petition, that is, the constructive and collaborative competition between companies from which both benefit. In particular, participating companies will be able to use the infrastructure to include services, integrate their offers, or set up tourism promotion strategies with other existing infrastructures. According to the results obtained, now we are able to answer the research questions which guided our investigation. In particular, for what concerns the first one, we can say that even if the number of published papers is still limited, this doubles every year. Nevertheless, the content of the paper examined allowed us to analyze the direction of the scientific research in this domain. The second research question allowed us to explore the blockchain-oriented software projects for tourism. In particular, we reviewed 11 projects, classifying them by their core functionality and the related technological aspects. However, there are some other important aspects that need to be taken into account in further research. First of all, it is necessary to consider that the blockchain is just a collective term that synthesizes a series of different tools. In fact, there are numerous blockchain protocols that determine as many implementations. Secondly, it is a constantly developing technology which involves from the simplest protocols at its basis up to real new applications. Finally, it must be said that, despite continuous progress, blockchain technology cannot be tied to a single use, but lends itself to numerous purposes, even if sometimes conflicting with each other. To conclude, in this work we highlighted the most relevant issues of the blockchain technology applied to the tourism industry. However, it has emerged that the uses of blockchain technologies are limited to initiatives by individual companies, so we recommend destination managers to deepen and encourage its application in the tourism management of the territories.
Okay. Hello again, everyone. We are on the living session now with our one of the authors, Andrea Pinna. And as usual, I'm going to ask Andrea to complete the discussion, going through results and conclusions, resuming quickly all the results and the conclusion, and then we're gonna ask questions. We're gonna ask questions to Andrea. Please, Andrea.
Thank you, Roberto. Yes, my name is Andrea Pinna from Cagliari, and now I discuss the results of our investigation. Basing on overview, we can now discuss the main effects that the blockchain technology can bring in the tourism sector. There is two main effects that are the disintermediation and the coordination and competition. In general, if an hotel wants to get many bookings as possible, it needs to get some visibility on the web. Today, this is essentially achieved by the OTA, online travel agencies. we can see from the project examined, like Looktrip, Wending3, Trip Ecosys, that a blockchain can create suitable web portals that can replace OTAs. And so the main advantage in using blockchain-based system is that hotel manager, DMO, and tourism actors can maintain a certain customization of the offered products, and above all, they can obtain the immediate access to the data of the tourist making the booking. That this is not possible using OTA, because OTA maintain their data until the tourist reach the destination. In the future, thanks to the blockchain technology, OTAs and global distribution system, GDS, will have to reformulate their services, taking into account the revolution that the blockchain technology is making on the tourism. The second important aspect concerns the coordination and the competition. Blockchain technology makes it possible to create a tourism system based on the coordination and the cooperation of the involved actors in the tourism sector. First of all, the exchange of data via blockchain technology allows timely monitoring of the activity proposed in a certain destination. Thanks to the data, destination managers can synchronize and coordinate the activities of tourism operators. Furthermore, the transparency of the data, excluding, of course, sensitive data, and the freedom of action allow competition of the actors. In other words, what is competition? Operators and the tourism industry of a set destination can compete with each other in a constructive and collaborative way. These principles are evident in the project in examined process projects like Yuki and Sarcoin. So we come to the conclusion to say that our survey answered the two initial research questions. The first asked what is the trend of scientific research of the application of blockchain technology in tourism. Summing up, we have discovered a rapidly rising of interest in the sector. Of the 60 papers discovered in Scopus, the first publication dates back only to 2017. But conversely, in 2020, we found the publication of more than half of the total resulting papers. The second research question asked about the state of art of the application projects. We identified 11 projects. Some of these have stopped their operation, but also are still active today and assume a growing importance in the sector. Of the project analyzed, we identified and discussed the technology they used. From the result obtained in our survey, we identified some point of interest for future research from the point of view of the tourism manager, who will approach the blockchain technology. For example, a destination manager have to consider that the blockchain is not a buzzword, it's not a single system, it's a collective, a collection of tools, for example, different architectures can implement a different system. And for example, the blockchain technology can be combined with other technologies such as Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, but also with a system used in the actually in the tourism sector, for example, customer reservation system, etc. Finally, in this work, we highlighted the most relevant issue in blockchain technology applied to the tourism industry, and emerged the fact that today the use of blockchain in tourism sector is not a common usage, but is limited to individual initiative. And so we recommend destination managers to take into account the possibility of blockchain technology in their sector. Thank you.
Okay, Andrea, thank you very much. We have 4 minutes left, and we are on a strict schedule. So thank you for your resume of conclusion and results. Okay, we got a message from Andrea. Okay, please from the audience. Are there any questions? You can write down your questions in the chat. If not, I have a few questions. Okay. In the meanwhile, I'll ask you, first of all, you did exclude many papers out of the first batch of paper investigated, like from about 65 papers, you excluded many of them, and you just, used 9 out of 65.
Yes.
What's
Yes.
was the main reasons?
The main reason is that the most of papers actually discuss blockchain technology like an opportunity, but don't discuss in deeper what the use of blockchain technology can bring to the tourism sector. So we included only papers that we discuss blockchain in a blockchain-oriented software engineering point of view. Okay, so this is the reason why we maintain only 9 papers in our analysis.
Okay, pretty clear.
I have one question.
Okay.
So, given your work, do you think it's possible to somehow include in the blockchain architecture information about the reputation of
yes, destination or
of destination, but also of tourism structures or hotels, for example.
Yes, of course.
I have one example. For example, in Italy, there are the blue flags for beaches, for example, where you can. So if a place, let's say, a sea or a beach get one blue flag, it means that the quality of water is excellent or especially good. So this kind of information can be included.
Basing on, thank you for this question. Basing on our investigation and personal opinion, we can say that the blockchain is very promising for this function. Because tourists can become active player in the tourism industry and provide their review of the experience they take during their travel and store it in the blockchain. Obviously, in blockchain we can store data after the conclusion of the process. After we are sure that the tourist really enjoy this. Okay, so this is also possible for destination management organization that can achieve their, for example, the blue flag and store it in the blockchain.
Okay, thank you, Andrea. Sorry, we have just 10 seconds left.
Okay.
Just I ask the next speakers to go into my backstages. So we're gonna meet over there while the live streaming starts. Thank you.